quiz.
Pop quiz. Go ahead.
Okay. Let me just go right here. Okay. All right. Okay, here. What we'll do is we'll pull this up so you can. It's just base. I just want to see where your mind is at, because I really think y'all be like a little bit slow, bro. Okay, here we go. There you go, right
now,
here.
We know you special needs.
Maybe I am for talking to you. Okay, so here we go. We got this. Which of these is not a state in the U.S.? California, Texas, Florida, London.
London's not a state in the U.S.?
Okay. Hold on.
Now, a question for you. Since we're doing tit for tat shit, how many slaves were brought into the United States
40,000
from Africa?
40,000.
40,000?
Yeah.
That's a
Are you sure?
Question. Yep.
40,000.
Yep.
Final answer. Where do you cite your source from that?
Go ahead.
You have to be more specific with that question.
How many slaves were sent to the United States from Africa?
Go ahead.
Cite your source.
Nigga, you asked me the question.
Answer the question. How many slaves were sent to the United States from Africa? You said 40,000. Now cite your source on that 40,000. Are you taking it from Henry Louis Gates? Are you getting it from McGraw-Hill textbooks? Where are you getting that from?
Well, the University of Charleston, the College of Charleston said 470,000 slaves were brought into North America from Africa.
Gotcha. College of Charleston. So Henry Louis Gates says only 92,000.
Okay.
He changed it from 322,000, but officially it says only 5% of those people came into the United States. So how could those people become millions without the Indian being utilized?
So I'm going to say this. Establishing a figure for the number of African slaves landed in the Americas between the 15th and 19th century is difficult. Given the paucity of the statistic, also given that after the early 19th century, such a trade was illegal for most Europeans and thus clandestine. Any figures that are suggested inevitably are by way of estimates. In the 19th century, a common estimate for the number of slaves landed in the Americas was to the order of 20 million or above. Some speak of double that. The debate on the totals was reopened by an American scholar, Philip Curtin, in his The Atlantic Slave Trade, a census, who came up with an estimated total of 9,566,100 slaves. 566,100 slaves landed in the Americas. This was revised upwards by J.E. Nikori in the Journal of African History to around 15,400,000 slaves exported from Africa, and around 13,392,000 landed in the Americas. More recently, Paul Lovejoy in The Transformations in Slavery, 1983, has calculated a figure of 11,698,000 exported from Africa, and around 9,900,000 landed. The debate is by no means closed. Further work is liable to refine the totals more precisely. So everyone who estimates the amount of slaves, which would be exactly what Henry Louis Gates is doing, says in the upwards of 20 million slaves were landed here. So now I'm
talking about the United States, not the Americas as a whole.
What I'm telling you is there's something called the intra-American slave trade. Slaves were
dealing with Indians.
I'm not done. Slaves were constantly moved around the Americas. you're taking things that people make estimates on and trying to produce facts based on them just to in favor of what you want to believe. You're not being objective.
What believe? It's real,
And
bro.
also,
There were barely any Africans sent over here.
Also,
So you're gonna have to prove. How did the Indian? Hold on, bro.
You gotta
How
stop
did the
hollering,
Indian go
dude.
extinct from
Tyrone,
Drake the Mania
Tyrone,
Decision?
Anti-intellectual,
Tyrone,
dude.
you're 2 seconds from
You're
getting
not an
dropped.
intellectual,
You're about to
Greedo.
get dropped. You're
You're
about to get dropped.
anti-intellectual.
You're about to get dropped. What I'm telling
And you're
you,
pseudo.
you're about to get dropped.
What are you saying, bro?
What I'm
Go ahead.
saying, what I'm going to give you an opportunity to do, prove that these were Indians being moved around. Give us some documents. Give us something, because this stuff was recorded. They have
Gotcha. Calamity of war.
Here you go. That's not a
I got my document on deck.
What's the
I'm gonna
document?
show you. Calamity of War. This is from the museum, the History and Archives Center from South Carolina.
Okay. So basically what I'm going to say is this. It's just like trying to document illegal immigrants coming into the United States. Some will go through the process and register and be counted. Others are going to come through and avoid the registration process. So there's going to be millions more. Like they think it's like 12 million immigrants in America right now. Bro, it's probably like 50 million immigrants in America. I live in LA. Go downtown LA on a Sunday. Look at all these thousands of Mexicans. Most of those people are not citizens. They're not counted. They're not registered. They don't have their fingerprints on file. You get hit out here, you get hit by a car with a Mexican person driving it, 9 times out of 10, they're just going to let that dude walk off from the accident because he is not registered as a citizen in this country. So Tyrone, what you're pretending to know is
pretend? This is documents from a History and Archives Center that I screenshot from them. Hold on.
So what does
screenshot this from the museum section of the History and Archives Center in South Carolina. So this calamity of war by 1715, divisions along religious. Could you pull up my screen, please? All right. So we can all read along here. It's not going to be blurry or anything. So by 1715, divisions along the religion and party lines no longer mattered as external threats became the main concern of the colonists from the turn of the century. British Carolinians, the Spanish colony at St. Augustine, and the French colony at Mobile had engaged in conflict that was part of the global war between European powers. Each colony formed alliances with Native Americans and used them as mercenary warriors. Bad trade practices, including seizing friendly Native Americans to be sold into slavery, hindered Carolina alliances with various tribes. Governors in the Commons House of Assembly tried to reform trade numerous times, but abuses continued. On April 15, 1715, the Yamasee, a Native American group that lived near Port Royal, attacked the nearby traders and the settlers, killing about 100 people. Choctaws, Catawbas, Creeks joined the conflict, attacking trading posts and plantations throughout the southeastern frontier. Terrified settlers abandoned their homes and fled to Charlestown, leaving the countryside deserted. Governor Charles Carvin rallied the militia and forced the Yamasee to retreat to Spanish Florida, but the frontier troubles continued as the Lower Creeks engaged in the periodic raids during the war. The colonists called on the Lords proprietors to save them from utter destruction, but the proprietors responded that they were unable to afford suitable assistance. In response, the Commons House unsuccessfully petitioned the king, requesting that this once flourishing province may be added to those colonies already under your happy protections. The Yamasee War left the colony burdened with debt and its survival. And additionally, the proprietors' inaction made the colonists feel abandoned. So, did you grasp what this article said?
Yeah, I grasped it.